Our reading this morning comes from Luke, the 10th chapter. Now, as they went on their way, he entered a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him. She had a sister named Mary who sat at Jesus' feet and listened to what he was saying. But Martha was distracted by her many tasks, so she came and she asked Jesus, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her then to help me." But Jesus answered her, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things, but few things are needed. Indeed, only one. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her." Here ends the reading. Oh, sweet Martha. We sure do like to pick on her and the Marthas of our lives. We have likely all heard a sermon titled something like, "In a Martha world, be a Mary." We are reminded to let our Mary come out and make our Martha settle down. We all do kind of like to pile up on poor Martha, but boy, does she have a lot to offer us. Martha is known as a busybody, responsible for preparing a meal for Jesus and all of his disciples who have descended upon her home in Bethany. And when she feels overwhelmed by the task, we can imagine her looking for Mary only to spot her sitting down at Jesus' feet. Now, sometimes when I imagine the Bible, I have it come to life in maybe a little bit of irreverent ways. And when I picture this story, I like to picture Lucy and Ethel. And I like to see that Martha is like trying to get Mary's attention without distracting the disciples. And there's this very physical comedy in my mind of Martha who finally goes, "Oh, forget it," and goes right to Jesus and tries to get Jesus to make Mary do what needs to be done. This turkey is not going to finish cooking itself or carve itself or serve itself, and there is a lot hanging in the stakes. So eventually Martha goes to Jesus and she complains, asking him to step in, make Mary do what she is supposed to do. But Jesus surprises everyone, and he doesn't comply with Martha. Now, I don't want to spill too far into Mary's story today because, we're going to talk about her tomorrow. But I do believe that this dynamic, where Martha is not afraid to bring her burden and her anger to Jesus, sets us up to understand something really holy and beautiful about Martha. And it also sets the scene for Martha's other appearance in the Gospels. You see, today I read for you from Luke, but Martha appears again in the Gospel of John. Yesterday, in the story of Jairus' daughter, we heard about a young girl who died before Jesus arrived to save her from her illness. That same urgency that we talked about yesterday existed for Martha in the Gospel of John when she sends away for Jesus to come because Lazarus is dying. In the Gospel of John, Martha, always worried about taking care of others, is worried sick about taking care of Lazarus. And she sends for Jesus to come to the aid of her dying brother. And this urgency plays out in the story where Jesus does what Jesus does and takes his sweet old time to get there. Yesterday, in the story of Jairus' daughter, Jesus arrived as the funeral was beginning. In the story with Martha and Lazarus, Jesus comes after the burial is completed. The funeral is days gone. It's Martha and her busy tasks of caring for others, who anoints the body and takes care of the funeral arrangements and sees to it that her beloved brother is sealed in the tomb. When Jesus arrives, Martha, once again no stranger to conflict with Jesus, runs and confronts him. "If you had been here, my brother would not have died." Do you know that alone is a holy prayer? Permission for us, when we don't understand Jesus' timing, to not run away from Jesus and hide somewhere and say, "Maybe I don't believe in you after all." But to take our grief and our anger and our questions straight to him. Martha does next cannot be dismissed. She doesn't stay in this place of confrontation, but she declares that even so, even though Jesus did not make it, she believes that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that he will come again. Martha is not only worried about hospitality and caring for others. Martha, well, she becomes one of the gospel writers. She proclaims the good news in the face of her questions and her doubts and her anger. She is a treasure for us. So don't write her off. We'll talk about her sister tomorrow. Amen.